Hey guys, welcome back to another video. And in this video I want to share with you some more information about being a government contract consultant, but how do you deal with firing a client. And I'm going to share with you just a little bit of a story, true story, about what I just recently had to do with a client. And let me just say, in previous businesses I've had to terminate relationships with clients, and it's not a big deal, but somewhere in the back of your mind you think when you are starting to work with clients it's a different level in terms of investment and cost and things of that nature. You would hope that you weed out the riffraff, but that's not necessarily so. And this video is more about really sticking to who you are, understanding your ethics, your morals, and your values, and know that everybody is not a good fit, even if they look like they're a good fit. So if you want to hear more information about this, and this is something that you've dealt with and you want to know how to handle it, then stay tuned for the rest of the video. Okay, so here's the thing. As a government contract consultant, again, I have niched down to the construction industry, and that's typically the niche or the NACE codes that I work with within that industry, which is a lot of them. But I typically find clients several different ways, and you may too as well. But I met this client, interviewed him, really kind of got a background on his company story. He has been in business probably about 14 years. And you would think someone who has been in business that period of time would be established. And so everything that looks good is not necessarily good. So in the very beginning of talking to him, there was a lot of questions that he couldn't answer, or a lot of problems that I kept hearing him talk about that was repetitive. So one thing that you want to make sure when you're working with a client is to make sure that they have the right infrastructure. Now let me explain what I mean by infrastructure. Let's talk about infrastructure. Infrastructure is simply it's the systems that you will have in place to make sure that this particular, in this term, business is set up to work as efficient as possible. So in the construction industry, it is very difficult for the construction owner to run the admin things like the project management and payroll and all these different types of things, and run the crew and be on site. So you're going to have to choose. Usually the owners are not doing the work, so you have to choose your roles. But there was a lot of missing pieces, and there was a lot of things that he kept saying that he had mistakes with. But if you look at his history, he is successful. So the reason that it's so important for you to pay attention to infrastructure can really impede, or the wrong infrastructure or a poorly designed infrastructure can really impede your ability to do your job and for you to get paid, and that's important. Now, I said earlier in my previous video about choosing clients. It's very important for you to know early on about a client's infrastructure, because it really can get in the way. If they don't have an estimator, if they don't have a foreman, if they don't have a crew, well, how are you looking for jobs for them, and how are you going to actually do your work for them? So it really makes sense for you to really get an understanding. Now, obviously, they're not hiring you to set up their business, but you have to determine whether or not the way their business is set up is good enough for you, and it's going to allow you to do your job. So that being said, after talking to him a few more times and being on the phone with him with his estimator, who clearly outrightly said that they do things illegally, they didn't know who I was, they didn't know if I was the IRS, the POPO, they didn't know who I was on that phone, and it didn't matter to them. And for you to expose me to that, I took it as this: if you're doing something illegal, and I have told you that I must, and my core values is that I will do everything ethical, legal, and moral. I've told you this completely, right? So we don't assume that we go ahead and talk about those things. And you introduced me to a person who clearly you know is doing things very much so illegal. I think that is your way of testing me to see whether or not I'm going to say anything, or see whether or not I'm just going to go along with it, or how far can you push it. And for me, that's unacceptable. So you have to choose your core values. Yours may not be like mine. You may say that doesn't make a difference to you because I'm not responsible for that. But as dealing with the estimator part and you are the consultant, you're going to have to interact with that person. And that can, at the end, could affect you whether or not you're going to win the bid and actually get paid. So you don't want to be with somebody who's doing things illegal. It is so easy. It's much easier to do things the right way in the long run versus you having to run and hide, and you have to change this and to make sure you do this. You got to tell a lie about this. You got to change your stance on this because you said this over here. Just do it right from the very beginning, and then you can be consistent and you can move on and put things behind you and just go on. So I'm sharing this with you is because no matter what industry that you choose to specialize in the consultant industry, and what class of people you choose to work with, this is everywhere. There's bad, unfortunately, in every industry that every business, there's always someone that's going to do something wrong. But you have to know for yourself where you stand and what you're willing to accept. And I'm not willing to accept that. If it was something that I didn't know going in, then that's something different. But I do know. And if you would expose me, openly expose me. It's like you was trying to initiate me without telling me you was initiating me. Because if she goes along with this call, then easily she's going to go along with the next thing that we do. So if you're going to openly expose me to something like that, risk and things of that nature, then you are a person who does not operate in integrity, and I can't be involved in business with you. And so that's how you handle it. You don't get upset, and you don't say things as disrespectful and things of that nature, but you let people know where you stand. I put it in writing. I put it in writing why I was doing it, so it can never come back and just say that she was unprofessional. No, I put it in writing why I did what I did and why I made that choice that I made. So if you're in this business and you're just getting into the government contract consulting side, don't lower your standards. Be a man or woman of integrity. Make sure that when people talk about your business, it's not some little, they got a chuckle in the back because they know that you do these things behind closed doors. You handle all these transactions that are illegal. You don't want to build a business that way. And even though your start may be slow and it may not look like things are growing, if you continue to do things the right way, I promise you that you will get the result that you desire. Never lower yourself to go along with anybody else. Be the best you that you can possibly be, and make sure that you're building a brand that can stand the test. I promise you it will work. It's a little bit different. I know this is not the status quo sometimes in many cases, and people will tell you you can just turn a blind eye to that. But you have to know your core values. Nobody can give those to you. You have to know for yourself. I choose to do things this way, and that's a choice that I make, and I know everybody doesn't do that, but that's okay. But I have to get up and look at myself and live with myself each and every day. So if this video makes sense to you, you've experienced this, or you think this will help you in the future, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you've been through this, comment below and let me know what you've been through and how you handled it. And make sure you stay connected. Hit the bell for future notification of future uploads, and make sure you stay tuned for the next video. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.